Welcome back, guys, and this week I'm going to be doing a quick chip-in tutorial, and because you always see me hitting chip shots, I thought it was a good idea if we got pretty much a beginner, which is Maddy, Caddy Maddy, otherwise known as, if you've seen her in the previous vlogs that we've done. And she's been playing not very long, and she's starting to do some chipping around the green. So we're going to take this chip shot here. It's pretty straightforward. This is the kind of thing that you would expect to have if you miss the green any time that you're out on the golf course. You expect to just miss the green, and we're at this point. We've got a little bump in front of it, so we can't really putt it, and we can't hit too low a chip shot. So we're going to try and chip it to this this hole just here. I'll do a couple just to start the ball rolling, and then we'll see what where's Maddy, what her technique is like, and what we can do to help, and in turn what we can do to help your techniques with this kind of simple shot, which really should be your bread and butter shot. So we've got a simple chip shot, and we really want to try and we're focused with 3 balls, because then that adds a bit of pressure to the second 2. So the first one we're going to try on every single one, but if you can imagine, the last one is the important one, and the last one is very similar to the one that you might have out on the golf course under the pressure when you're playing with your buddies or maybe in a competition. So it's very straightforward. Funnily enough, we got a bit of wind coming from left to right, so but it shouldn't affect us too much. However, that can affect you. So good lie, we're going to place it on a good lie. We've got our 3 balls, and we want all 3 balls to be inside. If you're starting out with this, I would say inside 2 putters. 2 putters or 2 clubs lengths. So what's that, about maybe 8 foot? Get it to that 8 foot range. You can always make that putt, you know, it's straightforward. But this is all about very little movement and a lot of control in the club face. So I'll do a couple to give us an idea. So 3 balls, I mean, I try and get them past the hole as much as possible, because then they've got a chance of going in. So think of that when you're doing it. Okay, right, so that was me. It's quite a straightforward shot. So we've got this little hump to go over the top of. As I'm saying this, Maddy's watching in fear. That was pretty good. I mean, I was trying to get that one up past, but the green's quite wet, and there's a little bit of an upslope. So they're all pretty good. Obviously, I'm happy with those. As you can see, there was very little action, not a lot of wrist action, not a lot of flipping up or anything, not too much speed even. So if I just talk you through what I was thinking to start off with, we got the shot. We're going to set ourselves up a bit like a putt. So these 2 lines here, these 2 grooves are facing straight at the hole. Now we can do that. I always look at a little point in front of my golf ball, as I've said before, with my drives. And so I set that up behind, so I now know that that is square to the target. That's really important, because if that's slightly open or slightly closed, you're going to miss the target by quite a long way from such a short putt. I think maybe an inch would be almost 10 foot to the right or 10 foot to the left. So that's crucial to start it on track. So I've got my little point now I'm aiming at. I'm going to set up. My weight slightly on my left side. You don't need to think about anything else, just like you wouldn't with a putt. I mean, it's almost the same as having a putt with the chip shot. So same kind of length. We've got a normal grip as usual. I try and keep my weight on the left side, and I keep my hand slightly forward, ahead of the golf club, because most people are trying to get some loft on it and they go back here, and it's the exact wrong thing to do, because that moves the bottom of your strike, the bottom of your swing, back to there. So what we're going to do, keep our hands forward, very little movement. I'm hardly going to break my wrist at all, and just accelerate through the ball. And it should. So it'll go up, it's going to probably bounce once and then check depending on your spin. Obviously you want a half decent spin, but we're not trying to have a big break in our wrist. We're just going to try and keep the club face as square as possible, very little hand movement. Everybody's trying to kind of flip them up in the air, but this shot we're just trying to nudge it forward on the line and get the pace. So we're going to go over to Maddy now and see what she can do. Right. Okay, what have you got? What are you thinking?
I've been watching Phil Mickelson is what I'm going to start with.
Right. Forget Phil Mickelson.
So I should really be pretty good straight on.
Right, what you visualising? What can you see here?
Right.
Go on.
Okay, so I'm just trying to remember everything you just said, which is quite hard because there's a lot of things. You said keep your hands forward a little bit.
Yeah.
You said don't.
So put your hands forward a little bit. That's it.
You said don't move too much.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to
Now,
about there.
The first thing, and one of the most crucial things I said, the very first thing, was lining the club face up. Now what Maddy just did, if you do the same thing again, is if you see the club face, when she moved her hands forward, put your hands forward, you see the way it opens the club face. So put it as it was, where you set up, that's it. So she was set up like this, and then I said move your hands forward, and it went. Now, if we take a line off of that, I don't know if this makes sense, look where that ball is in theory going to go. And all that has done is from moving her hands forward, it's shifted the start line of this ball like almost to miss the green. And a lot of people think, oh, my chipping's so bad, I'm missing it by miles, but often it's just a setup alignment. Okay, so, as you were.
Well, no, because you need to help me now. Because now I feel like if I hit that, it's going to go over there. So do you mean I need to come like this?
No, you set yourself up as usual. Set yourself up as usual. That's right, so her feet are in line and her shoulders are just left of the target. Now when you move your hands forward, we'll do it again. Okay, try and move your hands forward, keeping the club face square, so the club face is not... Right, there you go, so now move... Exactly.
Ooh.
Eureka, you see? I don't know whether this is helping, but maybe you guys want to think about this as well.
That feels really weird now.
Go on then, have a little look again. So what we're trying to do is
increase the loft.
Hang on a
second. Is that what you mean?
Hang on, if you get that out of the way, it's exercise. Yeah. That's our start line. And so, set yourself up again. Move your hands forward.
So can I just, excuse me, sir?
Yes.
So when you say move your hands forward, instead of moving them like laterally, shall we say,
yeah,
you mean tipping them forwards, like tipping the club face forwards?
In theory.
It's about language, isn't it? It's about what something you're trying to tell to me means.
Yeah.
Because forward to me just means the back, I'm going to put them forwards, but what you mean is
yes,
pulling it over.
Well, what I mean is what I said was you move your hands forward, but keeping the club face square. Okay, so so you can see that's a nice little one to look at straight away. So what do you feel? What do you feel with the way that you tip it? You feel like you're leaning it.
I feel like I'm leaning it. I feel like I'm tipping it forward. I feel like I'm worried.
Yes.
But when I take it back.
Yes.
And I bring it in.
Yes.
I'm just going to go.
No, you're not going to do that because your whole body and your head moved at that point. Okay. All you're going to do is do very little movement, not any breaking of the wrist. You're just going to move it back and move it forwards, a bit like a firm putt.
I'm feeling there's a bit of pressure building on this shot. I should just hit it.
Come on, you can do it. Right, so think about it.
Okay, there, forward.
Yeah, hang on a second because you are still aiming over there. You see? You want to be aiming over here. Yeah, so you can...
So I want to be aiming left of the hole?
No, that's at the hole, not left.
Hmm.
You see?
Right.
So, everybody, I tell no lies, right? Okay. Same thing.
Oh dear.
Okay, now then.
Can I hit it?
Yes, you can hit it. So we're just going to take it back. We can keep our hands in front of the golf club and make sure we swing through as normal. That is excellent.
Let me try another one.
So there you go. I mean, it's that simple. So you can see a lot of problems come in from alignment, actually where you think you're going, what you're trying to do. Keeping your hands just in front of the club head is key to this little shot. And I wouldn't suggest really much more than this on any shot. Now I use my 60 degree everywhere. It's what I've always done, but you could do this with any club, 7-iron, 6 iron, 9 iron. But I would suggest really I think for the best control, you really want a wedge or a sand iron, because then you get a little bit of check on the ball, because it's got a bit of loft as it goes into it. Here we go, let's do another one. Let's see if Maddy can get one in there close again.
Too much. All right, we'll do another one.
Now that was pretty good. You saw the start line was good, and you saw the height and the strike was good. She just hit it too hard. So sometimes it's just your feel. You've just slightly swung it too hard.
Okay, I've got a feel for it now. Oh, okay.
So one more thing, and that is, because Maddy's, she's hit 2 really good chip shots. If she just took a bit of pace off both of those, they had a chance of going in. As it is now, she's probably 10 feet away, which is not that far outside of the sort of 6 to 8 foot that we're looking for. So the only thing that because she doesn't play that much, obviously she doesn't know about the speed of her swing and how much speed she's got to put into the shot itself. Now that's the same with a putt. When you've just started putting, you get up there and you don't know how hard to hit it. Or if you're on a green that you don't really know the actual speed you're going for. So you do want to practice the shot a lot, really for feel. A bit like if you're throwing a piece of paper into a rubbish basket. The more you practice that, the more you get used to how much effort you put into it. But one way to keep it consistent is a little bit like a putt. When you putt, you always want to go back the same distance back as you go through. So we don't go and we don't go. Okay, so with this chip shot, it's exactly the same. We're going to take it back and forward to the same. So you could say go back to like, if I was a clock face, my face was on 12 and my feet are on 6. From your guys' point of view, we could go back to 8 and through to 4, if that makes sense. Or we could go like back to about 9 and go through to 3. Does that make sense? So, but we want the same each time. It could be just a small amount, but always make the same amount, because then we guess that speed every time. We get used to having that speed, and you almost know in your head, okay, I've got a 10-yard pitch shot. That's going to be a 9 to 3, perhaps, and you'll just get used to that. So we'll get Maddy back out again and try and get a club face, because if you saw earlier on, she had a fairly small backswing and a very long follow through, which I'm guessing is where she's getting that from. Oh, that was brilliant. So Maddy just had a little go and hold it. So good luck. Let's do it again.
On film though.
It wasn't on film.
It wasn't on film. Never mind. Bit out to the right.
Good.
Now,
Try another one. Lovely shot. Where? So that was fairly short and sweet. I thought that was quite good. What did you find was the weirdest thing out of it all?
Pulling my hands over instead of putting the club forwards how I thought it should go forward. I bet that makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, so when you pull your hands forward, the club opens.
Sort of crushing it over the top, pulling it over the top of the ball instead of...
Crushing, I like that word. That's good. Crush.
Well, I don't know how, it's hard to know the right words.
Crushing the chip shots, I like it.
Is that the wrong word?
No, I think that's good. Crush the chip shots. And do you know, it is a little bit like that. A chip shot is not a scoop. It is actually a crush,
yeah,
if you like.
I had some of that sensation. Also, I think the balance of the analogy of the clock face was quite good. Having a balanced back and forward motion.
Yeah, that's great for distance control, and that's what we're trying to do all the time, is try and get consistency.
I suppose the amount of my weight, when you said 75% of my weight forwards, that's normally I'd probably start pretty much middle, but it was far more weight forwards than I'd realised. That would be... Yeah,
and what that does is it puts you into the impact position, so you don't have to move out and into it. So if we're putting our weight forward onto our front side and just fixing it there, we're already in the position that we want to hit the ball, actually strike the ball, so there's very little movement. So Maddy was setting up very square and then having to actually move her weight from one side to the other, which you've got to time again. Whereas on such a short chip shot, you may as well set yourself up ready to hit the ball. And crush is a good one. Okay, so that was just like kind of a quick synopsis. Is that the word?
Synopsis, but you spell it
synopsis.
Synopsis. Summary.
That was a quick overview of the small chip shot that you're going to be faced with all the time. Obviously that lie was really good. We had no difficult conditions. It was flat and the lie was sitting up. But if you're lucky enough to miss the green in that kind of position, which often happens because it's only just like a fairway cut around the green, that's exactly the shot you want to really capitalize on, because dropping 1 or 2 shots from there is just sinful. You know, it's the most simple shot. You can practice it loads of times. It's hardly anything to do. There's very little movement in your backswing and your follow through. It's almost just like a longer putt, but you do have to practice it, and you do have to make sure you do a lot of things consistently. So when you set your weight, always do the same. When you swing back, always do the same. It's kind of getting used to that strike and how the ball comes off it is the difference between getting it close and not getting it close. But you had a massive improvement then.
Yes.
You know, the strike was much better. She's got a much better idea of, instead of aiming, because what she would do is sometimes put her hands forward and the club face would open, and then she would have to square that up by hitting it with the right hand, and you have to control that every time, and that's not the crush strike that we want. That's more of a flip, and we definitely don't want to flip because it's very hard to control again. But hopefully you enjoyed all that. We had a bit of fun there. It's great messing about. It's the sort of thing that I used to do when I was like 12 years old, just sit around a green all the time, just chipping all the time. And I think that's the best way of learning and best way to kind of teach yourself these little strike shots. And when you get proficient at that, do the same thing but out of bad lies, because you also need, you know, we find a lot of those out there, so maybe put it in not such a good strike position. I'll go through some of those shots maybe in the future. Give me a comment down below. Tell me what your short game's like, or if you need tips, or if you want me to do a video on any particular circumstance that you struggle with. It'd be great to hear from you. Bye from me. You're off as well. See you next week.